Enzo kalaban ang katiwalian at kasinungalingan, kakampi sa katotohanan at kabutihan.
Namimiligro ngayon ang kredibilidad at kandidatura nitong si Bato de la Rosa. Bakit ko po nasabi ito mga kabunyog? Dahil nito lamang pong nakaraang araw, bumalik ulit ang pag-iimbestiga ng Quadcom sa issue ng IJK ni Digong Duterte at sa pagdinig na ito, nasalang si Colonel Grijaldo. Dito tinalakay mga kabunyog ang pagsisinungaling nitong si Grijaldo sa Senado na kung saan sinabi niya na pinilit lang daw siya ni Congressman Abante at Congressman Fernandez na aminin na totoo ang reward system sa panahon ng Administrasyong Duterte. Anyway, bakit ko po nasabing namimiligro ang kredibilidad ni Bato? Dahil po mga kabunyog, kung mapatunayan na nagsisinungaling itong si Grijaldo. Sa mga sinabi niya, habang nasa Senado at naka-take oath pa, siguradong damay dito si Bato. Dahil po mga kabunyog, posibleng binigyan ng instructions itong si Grijaldo nitong si Bato na magsinungaling na hindi totoo yung reward system. Anyway, baka sabihin ng mga DDS na, bakit ko naman nasabing may kinalaman si Bato sa pagsisinungaling ni Grijaldo? Kayo naman. Siyempre, yung hearing sa Senado ay isang pagtatanggol at paglilinis sa imahe ni Digong Duterte. Hindi naman sasabihin ni Grijaldo na totoo ang reward system, bagkus sasabihin niya yung hindi totoo. Dahil kung hindi, madaming senador ang nakabantay. Lalong-lalo na si Bato. At nabigyan na ito ng script kung ano ang dapat sabihin. At sa mga panahon na ito, gustong-gustong makaganti ni na Bato sa mga taga-Quadcom. No wonder kung ito ay pakulo ng mga Duterte. Anyway, balik tayo sa topic. Ito na nga ang problema mga kabunyog. Nagtetestimonya si Grijaldo. At naka-take oath or nanumpa ito, alam naman natin na bawal na magsinungaling kung ito ay nanumpa or nag-take oath, diba? Dahil kung nagsinungaling siya, may pananagutan siya sa batas. Siyempre yung nagturo, madadamay. Kaya lagot itong si Bato pag nagkataon. Anyway, balikan po natin itong kaganapan na kung saan nagsinungaling si Grijaldo.
I, together with other invited PNP personnel, attended joint hearing in the House of Representatives. After I answered questions related to extrajudicial killings and the reward system, I was approached by a security personnel while I was seated in one of the witnesses during the hearing. The said person told me that I was summoned by Congressman Dan Fernandez. I went out of the room with the security personnel. When we were outside, he told me to go to the left corridor and proceed straight to the end room. While walking, I saw other witnesses who were standing in the corridor, including my classmate, Major Portalesa and Captain Anoba, who was wearing a PNP uniform, and the latter acknowledged me by saluting. When I entered the room, I saw two lawyers of Police Colonel Garma standing inside the room. One of the lawyers approached me and then asked me what we are going to talk about. I said I do not know. After a while, Kong Dan Fernandez entered the room and he asked me to sit beside him on his right side. And then Kong Abante entered the room, sat far end of the chair on the right. One of the lawyers of Police Karma stood near at my back. Kong Dan Fernandez put the paper he was holding on the table and told me, "Ito ang sasabihin mong statement na ito." While pointing on the paragraph on the paper, ito ang supplemental affidavit ni Colonel Garma. Sabihin mo, alam mo ang reward system. I-confirm mo lang. Kong Dan told me to read the said affidavit. However, I asked the copy of affidavit he was showing to me to read it. He did not give it to me. The lawyer of Police Colonel Garma said, ikaw lang ang pwedeng magsabi niyan, sabi ni Colonel Garma. I was puzzled and I asked myself, why me? I respectfully told him that I cannot confirm. They are saying, as I have not read the affidavit. We went silent for a while. And then Kong Dan Fernandez said, while holding the affidavit, saan ka pwede? Dito, noong 1999, about DDS, alam mo to, pulis ka na sa Davao nito. I politely told him that I was not still with the PNP because I was working with the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology in 1999 that time. After some time, Kong Abante asked me how many years do still I have with the PNP. I answered, I still have 4 years before my retirement. Then he made a remark, pwede ka pang maging general. I humbly responded to him, masaya na ako sa ranggo ko, sir. Pagkatapos nito, sir, uuwi na lang ako. At magtatanim na lang ako ng kamote sa amin. The cordial conversation between us continued. And I felt that they wanted me to convince me to do what they wanted me to do. Then Kong Abante asked me where I serve as a chief of police. To which I answered, Mandaluyong City Police Station. Kong Abante then persuaded me by saying, ikaw naman, Colonel, ganito na lang. Alangan namang walang insidente o pangyayari sa panahon na yon. I answered, and I served as a COP in Mandaluyong during the COVID-19 pandemic, and there were less crime committed. And we did not receive any reward from anyone. I added that we only received funds, additional MOA or support fund from the Peace and Order Fund of the LGU. I then respectfully told Kong Dan Fernandez that anybody can debunk my statement if I confirm the testimony of Colonel Garma about the DDS in 1999, since I was not a member of PNP at the time. And I have no personal knowledge as to the reward system. Additionally, I said, the work of the policeman are noble and requires great sacrifice, even without the reward or award. It is our moral obligation and a call of duty to serve our country and people. Then Kong Dan asked me, si Colonel Garma, anong masabi mo sa kanya sa Barayuga? I politely told him I cannot comment on the case. When I respectfully answered him, Sir, mahirap yan. Kasama kami sa nag-iimbestiga at hindi ko alam kung anong kinalaman niya at may investigasyon din sa amin, baka ma-incriminate ako, sir. After the discussion, they did not give me a copy of the second affidavit of Police Colonel Garma. I felt that I disappointed them. Kong Dan Fernandez and Kong Abante left the room, while I and the two lawyers of Police Colonel Garma stayed in the room for a while. I presume that they are about to present the second affidavit of Police Colonel Garma. I asked the two lawyers of Police Colonel Garma why they have chosen me. They did not answer me and just stared at me. And that I went back to the hearing room. When I went back to the hearing room, I immediately called the attention of Police Colonel Lito Patay, who were sitting behind the witness table. We proceeded at the back of the lobby area when they suspended the hearing. I confided and discussed to him what happened in the room with Kong Dan Fernandez and Kong Abante and the tall lawyers of Police Colonel Garma. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Colonel Grijaldo. What motivated you to speak before this committee?
The time, Your Honor, I was insulted and it is very offensive, and I think it is inappropriate for anyone to act like that.
Meaning, you feel that you are being coached to make that statement?
Yes, Your Honor, I feel I be corrupted to make that statement, Your Honor.
Bakit?
Just because that time, habang nag-uusap-usap, habang nagkakaroon ng deliberation doon sa hearing, Your Honor, hindi ko alam kung may present nila si Colonel Garman that time, Your Honor, na mag-ano nung second supplemental, ay yung supplemental affidavit niya.
So do you feel harassed? Did you feel harassed?
It's an harassment and very offensive, Your Honor, and uncalled for anybody. That time, I was wearing my uniform
You're wearing your
as
uniform
police officer.
and you are being told to lie.
Parang
Am I correct?
gusto nilang magsisinungaling po ako, Your Honor.
So, Colonel Grijaldo, I would like to thank you for your courage. I'm sure maraming police ngayon nanonood, and if you have observed, mabuti na nagsalita ka, dahil if you have observed the way they are treating policemen in the Quadcom, it's very hard. I feel them. I feel them. Because naging police din ako. Kapag sasabihan ka lang, answer yes or no. You can only answer yes or no. You're not allowed to explain yourself. So, para bang you are being deprived. You are being deprived of your right to explain yourself. Kaya, lalong-lalo na kapag ikaw itinuturuan na itong sasabihin mo, itong paragraph sasabihin mo, o dito, pwede ka ba dito? So, that's very inappropriate and it's very irregular for a lawmaker making an investigation in aid of legislation to make that kind of approach to a resource person na parang pinipilit na itong sabihin mo, iko-coach ka, ito, pwede ka ba dito? Parang lumalabas na meron talaga silang preconceived na goal na kung anong dapat lang ma-hit dito, kaya ginaguide yung magiging statement mo. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So ngayon, Mr. Chairman, kung nakikinig yun ang Philippine National Police, lalong-lalo na yung liderato ng Philippine National Police, I don't know what's his reaction with the statement of Grijaldo, because Colonel Grijaldo is just, I congratulate him for being so courageous enough to speak up for the truth in behalf of all the policemen na parang winawalang hiya sa mga tao na dapat hindi magwalang hiya sa inyo. Kung nakikinig yun ang CPNP, I hope this is your person, this is your man. Dapat depensahan ninyo ito. Huwag ninyo itong ilagay sa litsunan. Huwag nyo ilitson itong tao na ito. Because he's standing for the PNP. Na dapat hindi ganun ang treatment ng mga resource person pagdating sa investigation. Kasi parang ang baba ng tingin sa inyo, ng nag-iimbestiga sa inyo. Yun lang ang nakikita ko, masyadong mababa. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
Congratulations. And we'd like to
Senator
thank you
Bato.
for standing up.
Ayos ang script ninyo. Pang Best Actor at Best Supporting Actor ang banat ng dalawang ito. Anyway ito mga kabunyog, oras na para hubaran ang pagsisinungaling nitong si Grijaldo at Bato. Anyway may ipapanood po ako sa inyong video mga kabunyog. Na kung saan dito, ipinapakita na wala man lang bahid ng pamimilit na nangyari sa ekspresyon ng mukha ni Grijaldo. Kayo na po ang humusga mga kabunyog.
O yan. Colonel Grijaldo enters the holding room. At 7:17:59 p.m., Attorney Emericio Kilang enters. At 7:18:11 p.m., Attorney Rotsiv Comigad enters. At 7:19 p.m., Congressman Dan Fernandez enters. At 7:20:35 p.m., Congressman Benny Abante enters. At 7:35:35 p.m., Congressman Dan Fernandez and Benny Abante leave the holding room. At 7:36:14 p.m., Colonel Grijaldo exits with Attorney Kilang and Attorney Comigad. At 7:36:25 p.m., Colonel Grijaldo, all smiles, is seen conversing with Jimmy Fortaleza.
Yan mga kabunyog na panood po ninyo itong ebidensya. Ang sabi ni Grijaldo ay pinilit daw siya ni Dan at Abante na aminin ang rewards system at doon po sa napanood nating pagdradrama niya, labag daw ito sa kanyang kalooban na magsinungaling. Pero kung pinilit talaga siya, bakit ganun ang ekspresyon ng kanyang mukha? Bakit masaya pa siya nang lumabas ng kwarto kasama sina Dan at Abante? Iyan ba ang pinilit at hinaras? Anyway, ito po mga kabunyog. Panoorin po natin itong investigasyon sa kamera na napatunayan na nagdradrama lang itong si Grijaldo. At gumagawa lang ng istorya kasama si Bato.
May I also make just a short manifestation as to avoid the public that because I get this impression, Mr. Chair, that our resource person, Colonel Grijaldo, wants to at least impress upon the public that we are cornering him, that we are gagging up on him. Just want to make a manifestation, Mr. Chair, that earlier, Chairman Akop asked him, or the chairman himself, asked him if he needs a lawyer so we can provide one. Because he's been invoking his right against self-incrimination, and we understand that. That's a constitutionally guaranteed right. And we do not want to push or to even force anybody, especially if it's our guests and our resource persons, to say something that would incriminate him, that would be used against him at the court of law. He was asked what's the basis of him invoking that right, when in fact the question of Deputy Speaker J.J. Suarez was merely on an affirmation that the affidavit he gave during the Senate investigation was really true, because he was reading on the affidavit and he was quoting word by word the exact affidavit, an exact portion of the affidavit given by Colonel Grijaldo to the Senate hearing. And that was merely a confirmation from him. In fact, when he answered and replied to DS.J.J. Suarez earlier, his response is very much in conflict with the answer in itself. No? Sabi niya, I would stand by my affirmation, I confirm my affidavit which DS.J.J. was reading, and yet he says he invoked his right against self-incrimination. So he confirmed it, and yet he do not want to confirm it at the same time. So it's a conflict, no? Mismo sa sagot niya. That's the reason why Chairman Akop asked him what's the legal basis, what's his legal basis for invoking this right against self-incrimination. And being a non-lawyer himself, the chairman was lenient to even ask him, would you want a lawyer? We can provide you. Ang sabi po niya, hindi na niya kailangan. I just want to make this manifestation so that this cannot be twisted online. Because I'm sure there are ready trolls, paid trolls, who will twist this scenario here. Ang gagamitin naman nila sa atin ay ginagang up natin ang ating mga resource person. We have given him all the legal course in order to protect him and ask him kung kailangan niya ng legal advice. And he admittedly responded na hindi. Having said that, Mr. Chair, I have one quick question that I'd like to ask Attorney Conti. Mr. Chair, if I may be allowed.
Okay.
Yeah, thank
Go
you. Attorney Conti, have you been in courts, no? I'm seeing may litigation, no? And you also present evidences minsan yung mga testimonies, ng mga affidavits, minsan in a manner of text message or mga video clips, no? Tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Video clips, text messages will
Yes.
be considered as electronic evidence.
Yes, okay. Earlier, you watched the video clip kanina when Congressman, the Chairman Dan Fernandez and Chairman Benny Abante entered the room where Colonel Grijaldo was already inside, no? Nakita nyo naman po, no? Yung video kanina. Yes. And after a few minutes, they exited the same room. Tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor, I
Yes.
saw that.
As a lawyer, based on your experiences in trial courts, no? Assuming that this is an evidence, and I presume this is an evidence, Mr. Chair, to prove that the two gentlemen here were telling us the truth and nothing but the truth, as opposed to the affidavit of Colonel Grijaldo. In your professional experience, having having seen all the evidences in the context nung halimbawa itong pinakita as opposed to the affidavit ni Colonel Grijaldo, would you say that it's a normal reaction of someone who was forced to lie to come out with all smiles, magandang disposition, at nakipaghawakan pa sa former colleague niya? Is it normal for a behavior of a person, individual, who are let's assume na tama yung sinasabi niya, totoo, assuming without conceding that he was forced by two influential, because kung titingnan niyo, the two gentlemen outranked him in position. Court, kumbaga kung sa basketball, ito, advantage ng, court advantage nilang dalawa, nasa kwarto, sasabihin na itong gawin mo, magsinungaling ka, etc. based on his affidavit. Would that be a normal reaction of a person who was forced to say something, to lie before his teeth na magsabi na dapat ito ang gusto naming sabihin mo at alam niyang mali at hindi tama at kasinungalingan? Doon sa nakita mo, from your professional experience, would that be a normal reaction of someone who was forced to lie?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, first, I cannot or I should not appreciate that as a lawyer. I should appreciate it as a normal human being. Your Honor, that kind of appreciation of, is this consistent with human experience? It would not be consistent with human experience to see someone coerced leave a room without any restraints at sasabihin na hindi siya na pinilit siya sa loob ng kwarto. So it would be inconsistent with what we have seen. And Your Honor, this kind of evidence will only prove that, however, on the other hand, that these gentlemen went into the room, left the room at these times, and the last person to leave the room was Colonel Grijaldo without anyone keeping him in detention. So yung, kumbaga, ang maiisip po kasi ng karamihan, yung parang restraint is parang inaresto ka. His freedom to leave the room without any pressure or even without the presence of the two others. I think the two lawyers were still inside the room. We did not see that in the video. It would say that Colonel Grijaldo was not under arrest. To an extent, as a human being, I would say he was not under duress.
Thank you for that response, Attorney Conti.
Sure.
In fact, Mr. Chair, the responses and the explanation of the two gentlemen, the two chairmen, was actually believable because based doon sa mga responses niya, wala naman, it was plainly evident, paglabas nila, it reinforces yung mga sinasabing, yung atmosphere doon sa kwarto ay hindi naman ganun intense, no? Kasi nung lumabas sila, hindi naman for few minutes, so parang ordinary day lang. As opposed to Colonel Grijaldo, who was, I suspect, parang masyado siyang, sabi niya, may reflection pa nga eh, nag-quote pa nga siya ng Biblia. And he even went to the Senate to testify before the whole country watching that he was forced to say something and to lie. Ganon yung impact nung sinasabi niyang coercion na ginawa ng gentleman. And yet, when we look at the video, watch the video, it seems as an average-minded person, hindi po normal na behavior ang isang tao na he was forced to lie, he was coerced, under duress, tas lalabang with all smiles at nakangiti. Sir Chair. Yun lang. I'd like just to make that manifestation because again, I don't want to impress upon the public because there's an attempt, really, by this research person na i-twist itong nangyayari sa atin tapos may mga paid trolls na naman na ready to debunk all the truthfulness of whatever we have gathered here in this committee hearing. Tapos ito-twist nila that we are ganging up on him, Mr. Chair.
Bunyog, bunyog, halikan na kasama ka. Bunyog, kapag buklod ay may pag-asa. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, isa ang pananaw. Sa bagong Pilipinas ang bunyog isisigaw. Bunyog.